Okay. Welcome you guys, and thanks for coming by this afternoon. I'm Laura Braunstein from Dartmouth College. I'm the short Laura.
Hi, I'm Laura Barrett from Dartmouth College. So we're the Lauras, so it's easy for you to remember us. And I think you all know you're here for the 1 minute outreach session. So sometimes, actually frequently in life, we have a need to have a short, concise, clear way that we can express something to someone else, whether it's something about ourselves and our jobs and what we do, or it's an idea that we want to pitch that we're excited about, or some other project we want to collaborate with somebody on, and we just have a short amount of time to get our idea out there, to get our message across clearly. This happens at work, which is the context most of us are thinking about today. It happens in our personal lives too. A few years ago, Laura and I each, in separate contexts, participated in workshops where we worked on that kind of elevator pitch, that honing in that message. And we each came back together. We had both learned a lot from our sessions. I know for me, I learned how to convey what I do in my job to people who don't already know in a way that would make sense to them in under a minute. Often the things that we're talking about, these ideas or ourselves or these projects, are things we're excited about, things we know a lot about, and things that we want to tell the other person all that great, exciting, wonderful, all those wonderful things, which could take a little more than a minute and maybe be a little confusing or overwhelming to them, which is what I was finding when I tried to explain my job until I went to this session and learned how to do it more concisely and clearly. So she and I came together. We took what we had each learned from our sessions and combined them and came up with a workshop that we then offered for the Dartmouth College Library, for anybody in the library who wanted to come. We called it 1 minute outreach. We didn't call it crafting an elevator pitch because Dartmouth doesn't have a lot of elevators. It's kind of low buildings, and really you run into people walking across the green or waiting at the traffic light or while you're buying groceries in the co-op. And so we were trying to go for that kind of setting. So we offered this workshop. It went really well. Everybody enjoyed it. And I don't know how, but the word got out on campus that we had this workshop. So we've been invited to do this in multiple contexts. For administrative staff across campus, we offered the workshop. For professional staff through our human resources department, and multiple times for student groups. And so it's not limited to a library context, although there are plenty of ways in the library that this has proven useful. And so let me just make sure I'm not skipping over anything. Oh, right, I want to tell you that some of the benefits of this for those different groups are it can be a confidence building. A lot of people are working, at public desks, things in the library, helping them build confidence in conveying information to the people we're working with. And also, one of the things that we've gotten feedback that is useful about this is that we focus on conveying the information in a way that's meaningful to the specific audience. And so today, this is most of what I'm going to tell you about. And what we're going to do is take you through the workshop so you can experience it. And so we hope you'll leave with a couple of things today. One, your own elevator pitch or 1 minute outreach, and also maybe some ideas for if and how this might be applicable in your own work environments. But first, in case what an elevator pitch isn't really formulating in your brain, we have a demonstration.
Laura, great to run into you. Listen, you live in Lebanon, don't you? I do. Well, I don't know if you knew this, but I live in Lebanon, and I'm on the board of the Lebanon Public Library. And the interesting thing is that they are looking for another board member. It's a really interesting and it's a really great way to give back to the community that you live in using the professional skills and experience that you have working as we do at the library at Dartmouth. I have to tell you, I thought it would be a bigger time commitment, but it's just 2 hours a month. There's one meeting and maybe reading some paperwork and giving some having some discussions. So, if you're interested, I can email you some of our meetings from our previous from some of our minutes from our previous meetings. And if you'd like to come with me to a meeting sometime, I can let you know when that'll be.
All right. Sounds great. Thanks, Laura. That really happened in real life, and I did join the board. So that was an effective pitch. So, but let's sort of debrief on her little spiel there for a minute. What was her main point? Right, she wanted me to join the library board. What were some of her, or how did she address me specifically as her audience? How did she anticipate things I might care about? What was? Right, both that it's our town that we're both live in and are invested in, that it's not too much of a time commitment. So she appealed to me personally. And then what's the takeaway? So what, right? So what happens next? She didn't ask me to say yes or no right there, exactly. She didn't put me on the spot. And so, but what did she ask me? What were we left with? Right, she's going to send me more information, and then I can come to a meeting if I'm interested. So there was a clear message. There were clear supporting information that was about me, not necessarily about her. Maybe there are other benefits that she has from it. She has young children who use the library, and I don't. So she didn't promote that part, but she promoted this to me. And then she didn't put me on the spot to answer right away, but she gave clear follow-ups for what we would do next. So, and it was successful. So Laura is going to explain to you how we're actually going to go through this workshop, and everybody who is viewing remotely has all the same materials you're going to have, and so they should be able to just follow along.
Great. So while I tell you what we're going to do for the next hour, Laura's going to pass out a handout. What we're going to do first is we're going to give you guys some time to think about what it is that you want to pitch to your audience and think about who your audience might be. Okay, we'll give you a few minutes to write that down. That's why you need your pens that the vendors passed out today. After we do that, and this is why we were doing the micromanaging of putting you at various tables, what we're going to do is have you pair off and deliver your pitch to your partner. We're also on the back of your handout that's going to help you think about your pitch are some questions. It's actually the exact same questions that Laura just asked you guys. Some questions that will help you give your partner feedback. So each round that we're going to have some time for you to deliver your pitch to your partner. We're going to have time for feedback from your partner, and then we'll have time to switch places and have your partner give their speech, their 1 minute outreach pitch to you. In between rounds, what we're going to do is give you a couple minutes to revise and think a little bit about the feedback that you got from your partner. And then the reason why we're trying to get you into even-numbered groups of at least 6 at your tables is so that we will have 3 rounds, and each round you'll have a new partner to pitch to. Any questions? Okay. Yes. Whatever you would like. So something you can, most of the time we find when we're doing this with people in the library, there are so many things that they want to pitch that they can't figure something out that they that they want to concentrate on. But if it's something, if you're running for public office or if you want to recruit more people to, a club or something like that, feel free. It's really, it's not up to us. Whatever you think you're going to get the most benefit out of from this next hour is what we want you to do. At the very end, we're going to ask for a couple of volunteers to come up and pitch to the whole group, and we have some special prizes for you if you will be our volunteer. So look forward to that. Do we need to do a little more seating rearrangement before we get going?
Maybe we'll wait till after this part and then
Okay.
do the final.
Okay. And we're going to be timing you, and we're going to be letting you know where we are in this different stages of the workshop. So don't worry about that. And right now, you're still thinking about your pitch. So we'll give you a few more minutes to do that, and we'll let you know when it's time to start pitching. Any more questions? Yes.
Well, as you get started, depending on what your pitch is, if you describe your goals, what it is that you want from this person, or suggest your next step, how will you follow up your conversation? What if it's a person you're just meeting for the first time, or
Well, the question was thinking about your audience. What if it's a person you're meeting for the first time versus maybe somebody like the way Laura and I already knew each other? Have your ideal person in mind. So just as I can't tell you what your topic should be. I can't tell you who your audience should be. Who is the audience that you want to think about right now? Who's most important to you? And maybe it'll turn out that maybe right now you want to pitch open access to a faculty member in the sciences. But maybe, you want to, after you think about this for a little while, you want to pitch open access to grad students. I mean, so just for the sake of what you're going to get, to get the most out of the workshop, have somebody in mind. But just know that down the road, you may need to adjust your pitch to a lot of different people. But just, it might helpful just, again, to make the most out of the next hour, have somebody specific in mind. Just as a reminder, while you're working on this, these notes are for you. This isn't a quiz that you're going to hand in or anything like that. These notes are for you to give you some preparation for probably what's going to be pretty improvisational. So use the worksheet to the extent that you think you might need it. Okay? So if there's a part of it that you don't feel like you want to fill out right now or doesn't seem as helpful to developing your pitch, don't worry about it. Do people need another minute or so to... Oh, okay. How do you want? Do people need another minute? Are you ready to go? You're never going to feel ready. We'll give you a little more time.
Okay, so even if you aren't quite finished, don't worry about it. You've just spent over 5 minutes thinking about this, and I think you have plenty of ideas in your head. And as Laura explained, we're going to have 3 rounds. So before we move on to actually practicing your pitches, we just need to do a little more logistical rearranging. So if I could ask the 2 of you to move to that table and sit with them, and if I could ask the 3 of you to move to this table, we'll have an odd number for a minute, but one person at this table is leaving soon, so it's going to work out. Okay. Okay, so we have another person who has to leave. Okay, so Alan will be moving to another table. So those of you watching remotely, if you have a question for him, he will get to it, but he's also going to be participating in the workshop, so be patient, please. And why don't you all, as you're rearranging, take a minute and just say hi to each other, because as you pair up, you'll be tempted to do that, but we're going to be really rigid with our time, and we need you to not spend your time getting acquainted. Okay, and so now what we need you to do is to set up your chairs so that you're facing each other in pairs. So you won't be facing the table anymore. You'll be facing, some of you will be facing clockwise and some will be facing counterclockwise, and you will each be facing another person. We can help choreograph this. And really do please turn your chairs to face each other, because this is going to take on a musical chairs kind of element to it without the music. And as we live in rural New Hampshire, we brought a cowbell to get your attention. So this might sound nitpicky, and I apologize if it does, but if you actually, here we have this beautiful example of 2 people who are facing their chairs directly towards each other, so that if one of them gets up and someone else has to sit down, that next person is really clear on where they're sitting and who they're facing. So, great. So yeah, if your chairs are facing into the table, please turn them to face each other. And now, if you are facing, if I'm 12 o'clock and you are facing clockwise around the table, please raise your hand. So if you're facing, so all the clockwise people, raise your hands. We just need to make sure we have one person in each pair and it's the same. Is everybody worked out? Yes, and you're great. So all of you who raised your hands, just remember, when we need people to switch chairs, it's going to be you. So you've already figured out who you are. So you can see there's a little bit of logistical arrangements to do. Okay, so as Laura already explained, we're now going to go through the pitch practicing process. All the people who raised their hands we'll call you Group A. You will be the first ones to give your pitch to your partner. We'll give you 1 minute and 10 seconds. That extra 10 seconds is in case you need to preface it by saying, you're a graduate student in theater. You're a brand new faculty member in biology. And just if you need to give them a little bit of their character so they know who you're pitching to. And then person B, who didn't raise your hand, will have the chance to respond based on those prompts on the back of the handout. Then person B pitches and person A responds. And we'll just ring the bell every time and we'll advance our slides and you'll know exactly what's going on. So, do you feel ready? Ready? Okay, so all the person A's, raise your hand one more time so we know who's pitching first. Okay, I think you're ready. So please go ahead and take 1 minute and pitch to your neighbor.
That took forever, didn't it? Now it's time for your partner to respond. And again, we've got some prompts for you on the back of the worksheet. Those are, again, prompts. If you find them helpful, use them. If you don't find them helpful, don't use them. If you want to just respond from your heart, go ahead. And if you want to respond from our questions, go ahead. But we ask that you give your partner some concrete feedback to help him or her revise their pitch.
Yes, and I'll just add one thing. Part of the reason we did make up those prompts to help you is we found the first time through we did this that the person would respond by saying, I liked it. You did a good job. Now, that's very kind and supportive, but it doesn't actually help to say, what did you like about it? What could you improve? So, okay, go ahead. Okay, you've done one pitch and respond, and now person B has 1 minute and 10 seconds to set up and give their pitch. So go ahead. Yes, the second person is now giving their pitch. All right. So, and if you ever get confused about where we are, please ask. And also, we made this handy PowerPoint. We have learned through experience we needed a cowbell and we needed a little cue card. So this has evolved over time. Now it's time for person A to respond and give feedback to the person who just gave their pitch. So go ahead and do that. Now you have a minute or so to incorporate that feedback that you received and just the feedback you gave yourself through the experience of giving your pitch, and think about what revisions you might want to make. Jot down some notes if you want. Just take 1 minute to do that, and then we'll move on. Okay, so now all of those A people who raised their hands are going to get up and walk around the table to the next empty seat that's vacated by the other A person. All right, it sounds like everybody's had a chance to say hello to their new partner. And so I'm just going to ring my cowbell and make sure I have everyone's attention. Otherwise, we leave people behind. It's not that I just like ringing bells and getting people to look at me. Now we're on to round 2. You all have a new partner, and we're going to start over. So again, person A, the person who went first before, will go first again and give your pitch. So please go ahead. Now it's time for person B to respond, so please go ahead and do that. All right, so now it's person B's turn to give their pitch. So again, please go ahead and do that, and feel free to tell your partner what role they should play. Wonderful. Now it is time for person A to respond to person B and let them know how their pitch went. So please take a minute and do that. Wonderful. So now you've just finished the round 2 and you have a minute again to make any revisions, think about how you want to change your pitch or enhance it for our final round. So please take a minute and do that. Okay, so we have another chance to get up and move. So again, if the same people who moved last time can move one more chair, and if somehow you end up with a partner you've had before, find a different partner. But you should be having new partners each time. All right. This cowbell is a little obnoxious, but it really works. You should have seen us try to do this before we had this cowbell. It didn't work. Yes, and it makes every song better. Okay, so we're ready for our third round. So once again, person A will go first and give your pitch. So please go ahead and do that. Okay, so now it's time for person B to give you some feedback. So go ahead. Now it is person B's chance to give their pitch one last time. So go ahead and do that. And now it's time for person A to give feedback on that pitch. So go ahead and respond for a minute. All right, so why don't you just take, 20 seconds or 30 seconds and do jot down any last notes. Even though we're not going to do another round today, this might be something you really are working on. So if you have any last thoughts you want to make sure you capture, take a minute to do that, or less than a minute.
All right, let's debrief a little bit. How did that go? Any thoughts or reflections on your experience that anyone would like to share? Any comments? Yes.
Hi, I think it was just good, practicing it each time, and each time you can narrow it down more or get it more focused or just make the improvements that you need instead of just trying it one time off the cuff kind of thing, or so you'll be in practice, for the time when you do have to do it.
So having a structured time in which you could take the feedback immediately and then being able to practice that again for another audience. Yeah. Okay, great.
Well, that was exactly what I was going to say, that by the time I got to the third time, I was like, oh, I know how to do this now.
Right, I can do this now. Right. So you... John?
Of what I was giving the spiel about, thanks to my colleagues here saying, what about this, what about that? So by the time I came through the third time, I felt more able to be... I was prepared. Okay.
So did you all notice, as they did, a big change between the first time you pitched and the last time? Okay. Other thoughts about the process?
It was helpful to get input from different people because they had different perspectives and ideas that could help improve it.
Okay, so just the way you're switching between, even though we are all librarians here pretty much, and we might all come from different aspects of the library service. So getting that different perspective was probably great. Okay, other thoughts?
The last comment I got was actually very helpful. She said, perhaps you said enough in half the time, and you should just stop and let the other person give you the feedback on what you've already said. So that was, I thought, well, that's a very good idea, actually. You don't have to keep... you don't have to fill the whole minute.
Okay. Yeah, it could be 30 seconds of outreach. How long do you ride in the elevator or wait for your checkout for your groceries or on the ski lift? I don't know. That's what we do. Oh. Other thoughts? Any other thoughts? Can somebody tell me, just give an idea of what kinds of changes they made to their speech? Did you take out more introduction? Did you add more details?
A lot of it was adding more details because you know what you're talking about, so you go into it thinking everyone knows what you're talking about and then people are like, well, wait a minute, like, what do you mean when you say this? And so you're adding more specifics into it, and I think that was my biggest changes.
Did anybody take less information out?
I removed a couple of redundant things. I tend to say everything twice in different ways, and that's not really necessary in the 1 minute pitch, so I removed that for the best example.
Any thoughts about the responding, what it was like to respond to the pitches?
I think I listened better than I normally would.
Okay. So you're saying that being compelled to respond,
You know, the main point of what they were saying, and sometimes I'm thinking about what they're saying, and I'm, drifting off. But I really had to focus in on what they were saying.
So IRL, as the teenagers say, are you ever compelled to respond like that? Probably not, right? In real life, right? We generally, you thinking about your audience, and that I think that compels us to be even clearer in our pitch, because we know that the person we're pitching to has not been asked in a workshop to listen specifically to your pitch, right? So that's another thing to think about.
I think initially it's a little bit intimidating. Be asked to respond, you think, oh Lord, I hope they're not going to take this the wrong way. So I think you have to get over that. But by the time we did it the third time, I felt more comfortable with it.
All right, great. I'm really glad to hear that. Any other last thoughts about your experience? Oh yeah.
This is kind of less about the experience of the workshop and more general thought that I like to think that every conversation with a faculty member, in my case, is an outreach opportunity, and sometimes something that they say can be the avenue into whatever you're wanting to present. So the pitch may vary, but to keep your pitch in mind and use those conversations, comments that they make to start it as a launching point, and find a way to get into your actual pitch.
And I think that's a brilliant point, and I think it's one that we really want to get across, that rarely are you going to you think about those opportunities, and sometimes they're not as clear-cut as, you're both standing waiting for the stoplight. Sometimes it's in the midst of a conversation about something else, and you just hear a turn of phrase that gives you an opportunity to break in with that. Okay. Quickly, do you guys have any questions for us about what it's like to facilitate this, if you're thinking about doing it at your own campus?
I'd just like to know, I think it's very useful for the library faculty and staff, but would you do it for one particular issue? Like the one I pitched to the partners today was something that's actually happening. Do you try and get like a list of points that they have to hit, and then they have to practice getting those points across? Or?
I'm so glad you asked that.
That is a great question. In fact, our director of scholarly communication within the library had come to the workshop when we did it in the library, really liked it, and in her work to help educate everyone in the library, to have to be informed, to have good talking points about different issues in scholarly communication. I'll use open access right now. We met to try to figure out, could we use this as a way to help the people around the table practice that outreach around a topic. And we decided, for our circumstance, that it wasn't going to work because the people around the table, the librarians and other people in the library, had really varying levels of knowledge about open access. So for her, in her position, she knows, everything there is to know. So she has a lot of knowledge she needs to hone down into a pitch. For me, maybe I would have enough to get through that short conversation. I wouldn't actually be honing down my pitch. So we decided at the time that we liked the idea, but it wasn't going to work in this format. And but we sort of kept it there as maybe sometime we can figure out how to make it work. And then this summer, we're having a guest come who's going to be doing some different workshops in the library about open access. She's going to have them be very interactive, people gathering a lot of information, working on crafting their messages, and that has become the opportunity to implement this. So we'll be working with that guest, because she is going to have in her workshop, have people generate a lot of ideas, learn a lot about who they're trying to convey the information to, take all of the things they've learned in the workshop and try to pull that together. And so then we said, great, we can do the 1-minute outreach thing there. But does that make sense, what I said about, I feel like you gave a good example over here of saying you needed to add detail, and remembering that people who you're pitching to don't know everything you know. Whereas when I was initially doing this in the first workshop I did, I was going in the other direction of I wanted to tell you everything that I do in my job and all the great programming that we do, and instead of honing it down. And so that honing it down doesn't work unless you have a lot to hone down.
To conclude our workshop, what we would like now is if we could get some volunteers. We have some lovely door prizes for you, a Dartmouth College Library tote bag. So any volunteer who would like to give their pitch to the group may take home a very sturdy and I would say green Dartmouth College Library tote bag. So do we have a volunteer? Do we have 5 volunteers? We have 5 tote bags. And we have 5 minutes. Perfect. Thank you, Alan. All right, who's going to volunteer? Oh, great. Come on up. And if you want to just introduce yourself really quickly and tell us who we are.
Oh, okay. Am I introducing myself to you? No, okay. No, I'm Veronica Canosis. I'm interim director at the library at Western Connecticut State University. And who am I pitching to?
Yeah, whoever you tell us. Someone facing in that direction so the camera
Oh, hello, everyone. All right, I will pitch to you. Okay, and you are a faculty member at our university who currently uses ERES, which is our electronic reserve system. What's your name? Julie. Hey, Julie, how are you? It's really good to see you. How you been? Good semester? Listen, I have some bad news and some good news. I know you're an ERES user, so the bad news is ERES is going away. We're not going to use it anymore. Don't panic. I know it's very easy to use, and you've been very happy with it. But we're going to have to start transitioning people to Blackboard because we can't sustain the cost, and it's difficult, and we're helping people with Blackboard and ERES. So, but don't panic because what department are you in again? Okay, Brian Stevens is your library liaison, and he is going to help you every step of the way. So he's going to be in touch with you. Are there any days that are good for you to meet with him? Tuesdays? Okay, he's going to be with you every step of the way. He's going to show you the transition from ERES into Blackboard. He'll even help you, sit down with you and help you with it, and he'll be there to kind of mentor you through this. So I'm sorry about ERES. I know we've been using it for years, but really you're gonna love Blackboard. It's going to work just as well. He's going to show you all the ins and outs of it. Okay? So you'll be hearing from him, and if you have any questions at all, you can always ask me or you can talk to Brian. Wasn't even a minute, was it?
Thank you so much, Veronica. Let's give her a hand. Let's give her a tote bag. Okay. All right. Okay, yeah. Another volunteer for another tote bag. I know. Another volunteer for another tote bag? Come on, you saw how Veronica did it. It was so easy. All right, wonderful. So tell us your name and who we are.
Hi, I'm Susan Suzamore. I'm an instruction and reference librarian at Bristol Community College. And I guess I'll use you, Julie. You're in the hot seat, right? So you are an adjunct who never checks email, but gives research projects and never has an information literacy class. So hey, Hi, Julie. How are you? I'm Susan Moore. I'm the librarian here at Bristol Community College. How are you today? I'm so glad to hear that. I noticed you give us really great research project, but you never have an information literacy class, and sometimes the students get overwhelmed with all our databases and all our books. So I was wondering if there would be an email that I could reach you at to tell you more about our services, because we can give you either one class session of instruction, or maybe if you don't feel comfortable giving up your entire class session, we can meet you with multi-sessions, and I can either come to your classroom or you can come to one of our labs. What do you think?
I mean, I do have my campus email that I check frequently.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll definitely send it to you, and then I'll follow up because I noticed that you teach in this classroom every Tuesday and Thursday.
That's correct.
Thank you so much. I think we're getting to the end, but maybe we have one more volunteer. One more? One more volunteer. Yeah. One more person wants a lovely green tote bag from the Dartmouth College Library. Okay.
All right, see, my biggest fault is I'm a talker, so here we go. All right. I guess I get to pick on you too. You should. You should. All right. Hi, my name is Emily Brown. I'm the coordinator of reference and instruction at the library. I wanted to tell you a little bit about some research we've done recently about our traditional library instruction. I know you schedule a lot. What we've found is that our traditional one-shot library sessions aren't as cohesive as we wish they would be. So what we'd like to do is offer you a variety of instruction sessions that might fit better into your course schedule. We have the traditional one-shot where we would like to say then follow up with a 10-15 minute session a week or so later to see how your students are doing. We'd also like to offer shorter multiple sessions over the semester, and we can even reach out to your students within Angel, which is our e-learning platform. I'd like to take the opportunity to email you our research. Is that okay?
Yes. Would we have to come to the library?
You can come to the library, or we could come to your class. We're really trying to be very flexible and fit our information literacy where we can.
Excellent. I'd be interested.
Awesome. Well, I will follow up. Thank you so much.
Let's have a big hand for all of our volunteers. And give yourselves a hand. Thank you all for being a good sport, and we are really hoping you'll come home after this session and really have something you can move forward with in working with your communities. So thank you very much.